Okay, and we're rolling in live. Got Chris here, Chris Handley, for another episode of Behind the Scenes, Lifting the Veil on Reignite Pro. Chris has just finished up Reignite Pro, probably about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, Chris, if you maybe want to just kick us off with a little bit of background, who you are, what you do, anything that you think's a bit more relevant.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So Chris Handley, you can tell by the voice, I'm from the UK. I live in Manchester at the minute, so I'm a northern lad. So I'm 41. I've got a wife and 3 daughters. And I guess background predominantly for me is about work. And I guess I'm going to talk about work probably more than anything else right now, because that's been my journey through Reignite. So I'm a IT technology director. Have been for the last 3 or 4 years, and I work for a company in the UK who are a wealth manager or investment management, so in the finance sector, and we're just going through quite a large acquisition, which is going through soon, which is why I'm actually in the shirt today, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of reached out to Alex in the first place, really. So brief background.
Nice. Thanks for kind of giving that. I think it just sort of sets the scene. And, one of the things that I wanted to just get your thoughts on was, when we talked, I think you used some words saying you weren't struggling. In fact, far from it. A lot of things were going in the right direction, but not everything was, right? It felt like maybe there was an element of going through the motions. Maybe it was kind of good, not great. Like, what was the sort of situation you were in when we first started talking?
Yeah, I think at the time I used, everything's heading in the right direction, but there was just something, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Clearly now I can, looking back, but I would class myself as successful. I mean, everybody's got different measures for what success looks like, but yeah, I was where I kind of wanted to be in terms of career. I was, I'm happily married, still am, even after Reignite, which is always good. And I've got three beautiful daughters. So, in a lot of ways, I was happy, and I guess I didn't know what it was at the time. So no, I wasn't struggling. I'd kind of got to where I wanted to, probably more by hard work and probably some luck rather than a formulated plan, and that's what I wanted to kind of delve into a bit deeper and say, well, actually, how far can I go, and really start to put some structure to move to the next level.
And looking back, what was it that was maybe missing, or what was that piece of the puzzle that wasn't quite fitting into place that was allowing you to get to the next level?
I think there's 2 things looking back. Firstly was investing in myself. I think I spent a lot of time at work, investing in others, investing in the business, and investing in my career, but not really looking at the personal side. And in particular, what I mean by that is the kind of health and fitness. And then secondly, it was, I've already touched upon it really, what is that longer term plan? I kind of had a general direction of where I wanted to head to, my kind of level of seniority. Didn't really have anything that underpinned that to say, well, okay, how am I going to do that? Could I expedite that and actually get there faster? I'm still confident I would have got there. Don't know when, but how could I actually put some structure around it, know where I'm heading, know the actions, and take control of it. Really, I think that's where I was coming from, and I think probably jumping ahead a little bit, so apologies, but the health and fitness for me, how I related to it was about maintaining the energy and focus that I needed in work to deliver on what I need to do in my career.
Nice. And I like that you kind of sort of use health and fitness as maybe a segue into performance. One of the things that we touched on and I'm starting to make more of a correlation to in the way that we kind of position this out to the marketplace is you have your physical capacity, right? Your physical health, which determines how much energy you can have, right? Your total energy capacity. And then you have your mental resilience, which is maybe how quickly you can make decisions, or how effectively you can make decisions, how strategic the decisions that you make are. And then on top of that, the third layer up the sort of pyramid is you have your emotional capacity, right? Your ability to take knocks. It's like in your line of work, I imagine you take knocks day in, day out. You know, a lot of guys at, you know, a certain level, you're taking knocks at, you know, all the time, whether it's underperforming employees, whether it's difficult stakeholders, whether it's stressful board meetings and updates. There's a lot of stress and pressure. So having that additional level of physical capacity, which then sort of bleeds up to the upper levels, that was perhaps quite important. You know, what sort of stood out to you in the physical capacity over the 12 weeks?
I guess what I've really enjoyed, enjoyment is probably actually the right word. So it is not, I was probably a little bit worried, as maybe everyone else is before they started, that this is just a PT, you know, this is just going to be right, go and just churn out in the gym, and it's just not that. We've found a way that I can fit it in my lifestyle, in my work routine, to do what I need to do to get my health and fitness where it needs to be to maintain those energy levels. But I've actually enjoyed doing it. I've enjoyed the challenges. You know, we've tweaked some of the exercises so I can do more of the ones I actually enjoy, rather than just, you know, hating and dreading those particular sessions where I just don't want to do that. Actually, I enjoy and look forward to going to the gym and just doing those, really. So that's been the big thing for me, is actually finding something that is sustainable. It's probably the best word. Actually, it's not something that you're gonna go, all right, I'm just won't bother this week. It is enjoyable doing everything.
And was there a moment where you felt, you know, across the board, physically, mentally, maybe even looking, you know, broader into performance at work, that you wanted to go faster, or there was that kind of light bulb moment of like, okay, something here needs to change? And if so, when was that?
It was probably, and this is just a huge coincidence, it was probably a month before our paths crossed, to be honest. I've already mentioned it, that, you know, we are doing a big acquisition at the minute. I was heavily involved in that, and I'm still heavily involved in that. I also decided to do a master's degree, so I'm doing that at the same time, and everything just seemed to come together at once. And what I was worried about was not, I knew I had the kind of the willpower to do it, but did I have the energy, focus, and drive to continue to do and excel in all of those? What I didn't want to do is do all of them at half capacity and muddle through. What I wanted to do is excel and smash all of my goals. So it's about having that energy, and my motto is kind of, you know, how does he have time to do all of this? It's kind of something I came up with. But it was about finding the time in the day to do everything that I wanted to do at the level that I wanted to perform at.
And I like that motto, right? We talked about that a couple of times. It almost became a mantra for you. You know, how does he fit it all in, right? How does he have time to fit it all in? That was something that was really important to you. Like, where was that born? Like, where did that come from?
I don't know, actually, to be honest. I guess when I've looked at successful people before, and I'm kind of generalizing quite broad, but a lot of them have, you know, they have successful careers. They've got, you know, they're successful in personal life. They are physically fit. They're also speaking another language or learning an instrument, or, you know, whatever it might be, that you just think, how on earth do you find the time for all that? And that's kind of where I wanted to be, is almost people go, yeah, he's done something with his life, but how on earth is he getting the time to do all this stuff and do it and perform at that level? So that's where it's come from. I can't pinpoint exactly. I guess I've kind of just related that to the amount of things that I want to do and what I've seen in other kind of successful people.
And we'll talk about some of the results in a minute that you've got since joining the program. But before actually embarking upon your own personal journey, what was the impact on maybe performance in business, your general health and fitness, relationships, maybe even by not being bad, being okay, being good, but not having the levels of energy that you wanted? How did that impact those areas?
Various ways, I guess. It was almost, how I describe it, is almost that peak and trough of energy levels, and depending on where I was on that spectrum, I guess, depended on which Chris turned up. So some days I might be at work and performing at a 10, and then I would just be struggling when I got home, and that is not fair on my wife and my kids, that they get whatever's left of my energy levels, and similarly vice versa. If I want to excel at work, I've got a big team that depends on me performing and doing what I need to do. It's not fair on them if I'm underperforming at work. So I can't put any specifics on it, but I guess it's just making sure I'm present in those moments and doing, saying, being what I need for whatever situation it is that I'm in.
Okay. And so you've, at this point, maybe like a month before, you'd identified there was something missing. You weren't quite sure what that was, but there was something, and you wanted to go fast. You wanted to get to the next level. Before we actually started coaching together, did you have any concerns at all about sort of like A, getting a coach in the first place, and B, sort of joining up or signing up to a performance acceleration program?
I guess it's just not knowing what to expect. I've done executive coaching before, which I found really useful. So I'm all for coaching in general. What I've not done, and this is a theme throughout the last 12 weeks, is just not invested in myself. And that's what's been the real eye opener, is take the time and the help, because you can't do everything on your own, to get some help to invest in yourself. And that's my biggest takeaway, is that I think the phrase you use, Alex, is fill your cup first. I fill my cup first before I go out, and then when I go out, I'm performing at my utmost for my wife, my kids, my friends, family, work, whoever it may be.
Powerful, dude. What was, you mentioned that you tried executive coaching before, and you also mentioned earlier about using a personal trainer in the past. What was perhaps different about the Reignite Pro program compared to other stuff that you've tried in the past?
The easy one is it links everything, and it sounds so simple studying out. It almost feels silly that I've never thought of it before, but at work, you will set your KPIs, you'll set goals in a work capacity. Everyone does that, and we know why we do that. I've never done it personally. PT has always just been just the physical side of it. I almost link it to just being beasted in the gym. It's not a necessarily pleasant thing. It's just something that almost forces you to go and do that. What Reignite does is bring those together with a load of other things as well. It's not just PT and exec coaching, but along with just thinking about relationships, friends, family, what is important to me, nutrition, that's been a huge one for me as well. It brings all of these things together. That's been the eye opener, is just bringing everything together so it makes sense.
Awesome. Well, look, you had some astounding results right on the program. I've done this for a number of years, and I think the results that you've got have been one of the best, right? But just to be specific, you've dropped 15 kilograms over the last 3 months. Energy levels are up, perhaps to one of the highest that they've been in the last decade. You've also got a 3-year life plan in place. And also, in and amongst all of that, you're still a very present father, whilst leading on one of the biggest mergers of people, tech, and business process of its type. Having achieved all of that in the last 3 months, how does that make you feel?
I'm immensely proud of what I've done and where we've got to. Because this has been a journey for, I guess, for both of us. I'm putting words in your mouth, but. So I'm immensely proud of where we've got to, but I'm kind of excited for what's next. There's still unfinished business. I still want to drop a few more kilos. I still want to lose a few more percent of body fat. I still, I haven't got to my upgraded state yet, so there's still work to be done. But I'm excited to look at that. I'm not kind of sat here looking back at all the good stuff, even though it's brilliant. What I'm excited for is what's to come. What is in that 3-year life plan? How is that going to benefit me? How is that going to benefit my family? And all the successes and the fun and enjoyment that's going to come over that next 3 years because of this.
Awesome. Well, if you have to put your finger on it, right, there's a lot of different things that we covered during the coaching, and now we're doing some additional work together, right? But what was the biggest takeaway from the Reignite Pro program for you, would you say?
Well, good question. I think it's keeping things simple and setting standards. I mean, I know that's two things, but I'm sure you'll let me off. So I think it's making things simple to understand and not just having to scrutinize the back of a packet every time you want to eat something. It's finding something that works for everyday life. I think that's just been immensely powerful to just be able to get on with the busy day that I've got without worrying every 2 minutes about what and when am I going to eat or when am I going to exercise and things like that. So that's been that's been huge, to be honest. It's just simplifying everything.
Okay, nice. And I guess, one of the sort of final questions, sometimes when I speak to people, they can see their health as a separate vertical, right? So it's like their health is one vertical, their career or their business is another vertical, their family life or their relationships is a third vertical, right? What would you say to anyone that sees health as separate, or particularly even like sees health as a chore rather than investment? What would be your kind of 2 cents to anyone like that?
Do Reignite. I know it's a bit of a plug, but I used to see them like that. Just to kind of have health over here that wouldn't have any impact on work, and it's just absolutely not like that. I think it almost underpins everything, because you need to be present. You need to be not just physically fit. I think what I found is I'm just mentally more resilient now. With everything that's going on, my stress levels are nowhere near what they were. And I've been through a lot over the last 3 months, but I've stuck to what we've talked about. So I think the mechanisms that we've come up with, not just and the standards, about these are non-negotiables. This is, I'm going to do my exercise. This is my kind of nutrition. These are my minimum standards. They are all getting those done and just making them habitual means I don't have to think about them, and all of it goes to support everything else that you want to do. So it's almost foundational, I think, is what I've come to realize, is that to be able to operate at this level, I need to be physically and mentally in a strong place.
Fantastic insight, right? And if we kind of liken it to athletes have a whole team around them of nutritionists, trainers, physiotherapists, psychologists. Yet when you're operating at the top of your level, top of your game in business, many people don't. So I think it's a really awesome insight. Well, look, Chris, just wanted to say thank you very much for your time popping on and sharing your insights on Reignite Pro. And for anyone that's watching, thank you for tuning in. That's going to be it for today. And if you've got any questions or thoughts for Chris, please do comment under this live. Please let me know if you're watching this live with the hashtag live, or if you're watching it on catch up with the hashtag replay. And other than that, stay tuned for the next event in a couple of weeks. Take care.